Welcome to Simplify to Scale, a show dedicated to helping you scale a high impact and high profit business that you love without all of the complexity and chaos that can keep you trapped in the day-to-day. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and with decades of scaling experience, I know what actually works and what's just hype. So if you are done with all of the one-size-fits-all scaling advice and all of the overnight success promises, and instead you want proven practical strategies that will help you simplify operations, elevate your leadership, amplify profits, and scale sustainably, let's dive in and get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Simplify to Scale. All right, you are in for a serious treat for today's conversation because I met today's guest recently at an event in Austin, and as soon as I met him, I immediately knew he was someone I had to have on the podcast because he is just the most amazing connector ever, and when you hear what he does, this is the thing that none of you want to do, and he does it all for you. So, B, I'm so excited that you're here today. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
All right, so let me tell you a little bit about his magic sauce, and then we will dive into today's conversation. So, Behdad Jamshidi is the founder of CJAM The Marketing Connector, a business he started after realizing that most companies don't know how to assess their own marketing needs or find the right marketing agency to support them. He's assessed over 1,000 agencies, and he has narrowed it down to a preferred lean list of around 100 that really span all of the different niches in marketing. So what he does is he specializes in the matchmaking process for you to connect your business with just the right agency based on your need and your level of growth. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. All right. So my first question for you, in all of these conversations, right, you had to have picked up on some patterns and some things that really stood out that made certain companies make the short list of people that you would actually refer and others that don't. Is there anything that you can share from those conversations that people should be keeping in mind if they're thinking of hiring a marketing agency?
Yeah, there's so many different things to think about. And I get excited about this part because when you vet over 1,000, certain patterns show up. And so when you start thinking about marketing agencies, there's a couple things: structure, and then kind of like how the founder actually runs the business. So let's talk about structure part. Most of the agencies that I personally like to work with are underneath 50 people. And so there's like different types of sizes, right? So you'll have agencies that are between like 5 and 20 people. This is where the founder kind of like still plays in the day-to-day. They built a really kind of like boutique team to take care of certain marketing aspects. These kind of agencies are good when you're trying to do multiple different things and you want a small core team to kind of work with and just amplify your marketing within your business. 2 is when the agencies start kind of scaling past that 20 range, they start kind of getting into that like 30 to 50 type employee range. These types of agencies, they don't work well if they're doing custom things. They work really well if they're doing very specialized things. So if they're like really good at Google Ads or really good at SEO or really good at email marketing, it's like the one thing they do, and they build systems and processes around it so that they could scale the business to that point where they can take care of their customers. And so typically, if you're trying to find an agency that can do multiple things at once, look for the smaller agencies. If you're looking for ones that are very good at something very specific, look for the agencies that have kind of scaled to that 30 or 50 range, and then hone in on like that one service they do really, really well. And just more of an FYI, once you pass that 50 range, a lot of marketing agencies, founders actually exit because to scale past 50, you need to have built really good systems, processes, and culture, which many people don't like to do, to be able to scale an agency much larger. And a couple other things to kind of pay attention to is just when you're working with really good agencies, I'm always listening for what the agency founder did before to what they're doing now. And then also the level of communication they give. Like, are there systems and proposals and processes? Are they dialed in? And how do they communicate with their customers? Do they have account managers in place? Are you going directly to the specialists? Like, these are all just things that I'm becoming aware of. Well, I'm aware of when I'm vetting and interviewing marketing agencies.
It's so smart. And you said a couple things that I want to key in on. Sorry, this one has nothing to do with marketing, but did y'all hear what he said about systems, processes, and culture? You might have heard that from me before, just saying. But when you want to scale your business, right, there's certain things that do have to be in place. But I think the tips that you shared are really smart. And I think often people will go to a company thinking, well, I just want an all-in-one agency, or I just want someone to do this one thing. And I don't think they're ever considering the size or their process or how they scale or how they work with the company.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Like most people think that there's a one size all that fits agencies. I have not. The reason why I've met with over 1,102 of them is because I can't find that. I got to about like 400 agencies and I'm like, why haven't I not found this agency yet that does everything well? And it's because really in like that small and mid-market space, it's really hard to have agencies do everything. It's just, you need to have way too many departments. You got to pay people way too much money. And so when an agency has to scale in that way, then their costs go up. And so most mid-market customers can't afford, the $20,000 to $40,000 retainers a month, right? And so that's kind of like something to be aware of is like when you're building out the team around your business, you want to find out exactly what marketing channels you want to be using and then hire agencies specifically for that. And usually have one person in-house that can bridge it all together for you until you kind of get to a large enough size where you can hire maybe more of the enterprise agencies or the ones that do cost more. Because at that point with those types of agencies, they've hired really high level people that basically can band-aid and bridge things together to bring your strategy to life.
Yeah, absolutely. Without that integration, either it's you or you need to have someone on your team doing it. And I'm going to guess you probably don't want that to be you. All right. So what about for the person who says, but should I hire an agency? Should I just hire internally? How do I know what to do? How do you help someone make that decision? And when is an agency the right decision?
Yeah, there's so many factors that play into this. One of the things that I like to talk about is like that there's like 5 different levels of marketing agency partners. And that's can help on how to figure out what to bring in-house and what not to. The first level is essentially like, let's say your business is from like 0 to 500,000, you're starting out. A lot of the people at the level 1 are just people you're passing work off to, right? Like you might have a social media manager to post things. You want to like take off those things on your plate that you don't really enjoy doing. And, they're $10 to $20 hour type activities, right? As your business starts to grow, let's say you're going from 500 to 3 million. At this point, you start hiring either agencies that are really good at 1 to 3 things that is like the core thing that you do. So let's say you run Facebook and Google ads and you do email, like you just try to find an agency that can just do those well. And then they do other things on the side, but it's not their strength, right? At least it'll move you from a level 0 to a level, 4 or 5 out of 10. And so that's kind of like you're trying to find the value-based agency that can at least help you grow and move your marketing forward. At that stage, you could also potentially hire like an in-house person to help work with that agency, but you're still too small at that point. Once you start kind of getting to that $3 million to $10 million range, you get to kind of like the third level of like partner. So this is where you start finding those like very niche partners. Like they do SEO really well. They do Google ads really well. They do email marketing really well. And usually a company that's in this kind of range will either hire a fractional CMO to do strategy and bridge things together, and then have some form of like marketing director that bridges it all together. Because you don't want to hire a fractional CMO to manage your marketing agencies, right? You want them to build a strategy, pass it off to someone in-house that does the marketing, and then piece it all together at that point. At this point, also, you might bring certain things in-house where you're like, we really need our Facebook and Google ads in-house because we want someone constantly focusing on it, working with the content teams and et cetera. So at that point, you might also have some in-house resources because you're going to be able to afford to pay the salaries that they need to stay within the company, right? Really good media buyers are expensive. Really good SEO strategists are expensive. Social media, all of them, right? And then you start getting to level 4 where the business starts getting in that $10 to $30 million range. And, we can go up and down on that front. But this is where you can hire the agencies that can manage a full funnel. So let's say that they do paid ads to conversion rate optimization on landing pages to your email. They want to control all the pieces, and they'll have multiple different departments. And so you're going to be paying higher retainers, but at least they control end to end. At that point, you might have also in-house resources that focus on different channels for yourself, but you're usually using that agency to manage a funnel that's really important in the business. And then level 5, this is where you start getting to enterprise level agencies or really, really niche agencies. This is when your business is doing like 30 million plus. And at this point, you're going to have an in-house team managing all the critical aspects. And then they're going to be hiring either enterprise agencies to manage big campaigns, or very niche things that you don't want to bring in-house. Like, for example, video production. You might not want to own a warehouse and do all that stuff. So then you'll hire that part out. So that's kind of a little bit how to think about the in-house versus outsourced and at what stage you bring people in.
That's so smart. I hope all of you listening are hearing all of the nuance that there is to this and why someone like you, B, is so incredibly valuable to be having to bridge that gap. So with that being said, with all the conversations you're having as we're getting ready to go into the new year, is there anything that you're seeing coming up that's unique or different or of just something to really be laser focused in on as we go into 2026?
Yeah, there's so much changing right now. It's actually kind of nuts. Just before this call, I was talking to one other person who has a ridiculous amount of agencies in his network as well. We're just kind of on a call being like, we're probably two of the people that have talked to the most amount of marketing agencies in the world. And we're both kind of like picked up on the same trend of what's happening in the marketing space, which was interesting because we're like, look, what's happening is you have these new AI gen agencies coming out and they're executing for very large organizations right now. Like think retainers that are $15,000 to $40,000. They're like dialing things in and they haven't hit the mid and small market space yet. Because what's becoming easier and easier to do in marketing is execution, right? Like doing execution at like a 50 or 60% out of 100 level. It's a lot easier because you have AI to do, photos, content, all this different type of stuff. So what ends up happening is that strategy becomes more and more important. Your strategic resources are really needed at this point because if you don't have the right strategy and you're just executing really, really fast, you're not doing the right things. You're not going to get any outcomes. And so what's kind of shifting is that I think marketing agencies, a lot of them are going to really, really struggle if they don't start bringing strategy in-house because most marketing agencies right now are really good at execution, which is why most business owners need to have a solid strategy before they even start looking for marketing partners. Otherwise, they just get sold on whatever the marketing partner can do. So what you're going to start seeing shift is strategy is going to become even more important than it already is today. And execution is just going to continue to become easier to do. Like you should be able to do high level videos and high level content with the right things in place and systems and processes and QA, right? Make sure you're looking for the really solid strategist in any area of marketing that you're looking to work in.
Yeah. So the thing is, this is literally what I talk about. So you all should recognize these words all of the time. And it's true in the ops space as well. So much of operations, the routine, the repetitive, the execution-based activities, people aren't needed for that in the same way now that AI can do so much of that. But I really truly believe the future of operations is strategic because that's where the value comes in. And I agree with you fully when you look at the marketing side of this as well. I think just the future of small business in general, the key roles that are really going to drive the business forward have to have that very strategic lens. And I think they have to be able to also be more what I call like that ecosystems thinker, the one who could see how all the parts and pieces fit together in the business. Anything you would kind of add to that you see as some of the key skills as you look at the people on teams going forward?
Yeah, it's super interesting the way that you kind of just said it because like operations and marketing sound like they're going through the same evolution. And the key skill set for the team is just like being growth minded, being open minded, trying new things. You can't just expect to just rely on your own skill set. Like businesses need employees and partners that are going to be testing things and trying new things out. And I think the biggest thing is that you don't want to be automating and using AI for stuff that you're like starting net new, right? Like you don't even know if the outcome is actually any good. You want to bring AI and automation into systems and processes that already work in marketing, right? Like you're like, I know this works. So now how do I then make this more efficient so that instead of needing to hire 3 or 4 people, I can have 1 or 2 people just operating at maximum capacity and watching over the whole machine, right?
Absolutely. And so you've kind of woven a few mistakes into what we've talked about so far, but are there any common mistakes that you see business owners make, especially ones in that high multi-6 to high multi-7 figure range when they're hiring for marketing?
Yeah. Number one is there's no clear marketing strategy. So they're just going out and saying, well, I think SEO is supposed to work or Google Ads is supposed to work or I'm supposed to talk to this agency. And so they don't actually have an understanding of like, okay, where's my business at? What marketing strategy actually makes sense? Which channels should I be turning on? And then looking for the marketing partners that they need to find. And so I work with a lot of businesses in that like 7-figure, 8-figure, low 8-figure range where they actually put a fractional CMO in first. They get to understand the business, build out an actual strategy. And then once the strategy is built, then we figure out which marketing channels to turn on. So that's number one. The other second thing is when you're talking to agencies, most businesses will talk to maybe 3 agencies, max 5 before they hire one. Like after having vetted as many as I have, it takes me about 15 partners before I find one that I like. And so right off the bat, they're just not vetting and interviewing enough people. And the thing is, like, when you don't have a network or a strong network, the 5 people that you're probably interviewing are already probably at average or below. And in today's environment, like we all know that just doing good work doesn't get you good results anymore. It really doesn't get you very many results. And it's the top 1 to 2% that do things exceptionally that actually gets the scaled results, right? Gets the biggest share of the puzzle and pie, not the puzzle, the pie. And so that's the other kind of thing to think about is like, if you're working with average marketing agencies and partners, like you're putting so much money on the table. If your competitor figures it out before you, they're going to be way further ahead. And the last thing, I mean, I have so many, but I'll give you one more, is understanding when someone's built an agency, how they built that agency, right? Were they an employee at another agency and then they built their own and they knew Google ads and that's kind of how they built their agency. So why are they doing social media and email marketing when that's not the skill set of the founder, right? Like those are like very little things that actually really matter. Or is it like a agency owner that had another agency, built another one, knows how to do M&A, bring it all together. They have multiple service under house. Like it just shows you the maturity of the agency founder and how effectively they can actually build a business. Because that then ties to you working with them and working with people that actually know what they're doing versus trying to pretend they know everything.
Yeah, so much gold in this episode, so much to think about. I love it all. So you mentioned the 5 different levels. How about the different niches? So what are some of the common niches that you see in marketing agencies?
There's so many. Like, so when you look at marketing agencies, you obviously have the big ones like the branding, the websites, the Google ads, the SEO, right? And then you have things like influencer marketing, affiliate marketing, PR. There's agencies that are like for DEI, right? Like diversity and inclusion for both internal and external. There's messaging agencies. There's crisis PR agencies. There's so many different types of marketing agencies and partners out there. And that's why like people typically when they think marketing agencies, they just think digital, right? But they don't think print. They don't think like programmatic advertising, like billboards and being on the buses. There's so many aspects to marketing. And most people that have a digital-based business or service-based business, they're just thinking Google Ads, Facebook, and Google My Business. But if you're at a stage in your business where you're like, we have extra marketing dollars and we don't want to just keep ramping up digitally, how can we actually expand our focus? There's so many other channels that you can actually use that other people don't even think about because it's just not something they think about, which is why like when people come to me, I'm like, have you thought about this? Have you done this? Have you even thought about this podcasting conference strategy? Like, and people go, no, never thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense. So there's many ways to skin the cat, and there's so many different channels within marketing that you can use to actually get your business to grow on the marketing side.
All right. So that feels like the perfect segue for you to talk a little bit about what you do, because as all of you are listening, if you're thinking, all right, there's a lot I haven't thought about here. Do I have the right people? Do I have the top 1 or 2%, or do I just have the mediocre one? What do you do? How do you work with businesses and how do you help them?
Yeah. Most people probably don't know. I actually started out as an engineer, but now I'm kind of a super connector in the marketing space. And so the main thing that I do is I talk to businesses, understand what a business needs. From all perspectives, right? Like where you're trying to head to, what kind of resources do you have, what you want to do in marketing, all that different types of stuff. And then I come up with a strategy and I go, based on what you're looking for, here are the partners that I think make the most sense. Like you need a paid ads partner, an SEO partner, maybe you need a content copywriting partner, whatever it is. I will then basically go match make for you. So based on what your business needs, I will say, here are the people that I recommend you have a conversation with. You decide who you want to speak to. And then I make introductions so that essentially a marketing broker to the people that you need to talk to help grow your business. And so I've kind of played that marketing connector role in all of this.
So one thing that I found was super fascinating as I was looking at your website before we talked today is you highlighted how so many different areas have that broker type person. Like if you're going to get insurance, and yet it never crossed my mind to have that kind of person for marketing. And I bet that's true of a lot of people. So what do you find is the aha or the big takeaway for people who work with you that kind of comes away from that experience?
Yeah, it's super interesting. My favorite customers are the ones that have actually gone through marketing agencies before and they've realized how much pain it actually has. Like every time that you hire a marketing agency, It takes you 3 to 6 months to work with them to realize that they're not good. Then you fire them. Then you go through the whole process again. And just to find one good marketing agency, it takes 3 to 5 tries for a business to figure that out. So that's like essentially 2 to 3 years before you have one partner that you like. And then most businesses realize that they actually need more than one partner. And then that just makes it exponentially harder to find really good people. And so where it clicks for a lot of my customers, like for example, I have one customer 4 years ago, we kind of started together. I've given him 11 different partners across 4 of his different businesses. He went from actually doing 7 figures to this year, he's doing 140 million. And some of the connections that I've done with him was back when COVID kind of was happening with the insurance space. I gave him 3 partners. I gave him influencer marketing, 2 influencer marketing partners, a CRO partner, and a landing page partner. And with that one offer, because it was time restricted, it had 5 or 6 months left. He's like, I don't know when they're going to pull it, but we have to make as much money as we can before they do pull this insurance offer. So essentially, people would get the COVID testing kits. He would get paid $50 for all the free COVID testing kits he put out there. He made $10 million in that 5-month time frame and $3 million in just pure profit. And he's like, Behdad, if I didn't have you, I wouldn't have had these 4 partners in less than a week to just move fast, right? And I had another customer, for example, just 2 weeks ago, they're going for a pretty large exit. And they're like, we have this conference coming up at JP Morgan. Behdad, all the website partners are booked. Do you have anyone in your network that can actually build us a website that we can put in front of investors because we're looking to be bought out essentially? And he messaged me on the Thursday. We had a quick call Thursday night. I don't take a lot of calls except for very specific partners after hours. And by Tuesday, he had a partner signed, right? Like just the ability to move fast and move with people that you trust allows you to take and capitalize on all the opportunities that business actually lets you do. Otherwise, if you don't have like a resource, like a marketing broker resource, the business moves way slowly. And then you got to just like hope that the person that you're getting is good.
Yeah. And with the ratios you were sharing, did you say it was 17-1 was the conversation before you found one? And you being the skilled person, I wonder what that ratio would be for the rest of us.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like out of every 100 partners, I even say like, let's say 15 of them are considered good, right? Out of 1 out of 15, or even say 15 of them are good, and they get through my filters. There's still about 30% that aren't good. Like they're really good at selling themselves, right? And so for me, a lot of the times I've worked with a lot of the partners that I've put into my network. And so I know like, oh, I vetted them. I've gone through my deep dive, and I've worked with them 6 times. So I know that this is what they can do. And that by itself is just so valuable because you just don't waste time. Like time is the most valuable asset, especially as things consistently keep moving faster and faster.
Absolutely. So tell people where they can find you and connect with you and learn more about your services.
Yeah, the 2 best places. One is my website, so www.cjammarketing.com. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so if you just search my full name, you'll find me on LinkedIn as well. Those are the 2 best places to find me. And if you ever need to reach out, you can book a call, schedule a call. It's pretty easy that way. And at the bottom of the website, there's a whole bunch of free resources there too, like questions you should be asking marketing agencies, the general price points you should be looking at so you don't get overcharged. Those are all free for people to grab as well.
Fantastic. All of that will be linked down below in the show notes. And now there's a question I ask every guest, and I'm so curious what your answer is going to be. And so in your business, how do you scale smarter, not harder, and keep things lean?
Yeah, so I think I have a pretty unique model than most people, right? Because I don't actually do the work. I get the people that do the work, right? So that's one of the capabilities that's allowed me to scale my business, right? Like my business does over 7 figures of revenue between businesses and the marketing agencies and experts that I work with. But I don't do any of the work. My team, I have a team of 8, just focuses on my own marketing internally. And the way that I maximize on my team, I obviously use project management software, but I'm always putting automations into place too. So as soon as we get a system set up, I get it into ClickUp and I get my team to manage it so I can continue to effectively be on podcasts and go to networking events and meet people and expand my circle while my stuff kind of like runs on autopilot. And I've done some really cool things on the marketing front, where, for example, I have a newsletter that goes out once a week, but I spend only about 30 minutes setting it up. And how I do something like that is basically I have a copywriting chief that jumps on a call with me for about 30 minutes every 2 months. And I just talk through the things that are happening within CJAM. They take that with my fractional CMO, create the emails, they put it in, and then they send it. So it's all my own content because I want to be very authentic with the content that I write. But these are just like some systems that I've built where I'm like, I want my thought leadership to be in place, but I'm not going to be the one writing the emails. I'm going to have people and systems and processes to let me do this at a big enough scale so I can keep sharing my thought leadership from internal.
I love it. And I love that you model what you help your clients do within your own business structure. So brilliant. Yes. All right. Any final tips for the listeners on finding the right agency or just getting really clear on what's right for them in this current stage of growth in their business?
The biggest thing I'll say is just vet enough partners, get enough understanding. So if you're looking for like an SEO agency, talk to a bunch of them, right? Don't just hire the first one. If an agency has been around for less than 5 years, that's typically a red flag for me. They don't have enough time, systems, processes in place to really take care of you as a client. Though this is going to be changing in the AI space quite a bit, right? Like there are new agencies coming out. But generally, if you keep that kind of in mind, like if someone's been around for a year or 2 years, don't hire them. It's just going to be too early. Wait and get a little bit more of the mature partners that have been around and pay a little bit more. Because then you'll get a better results down the road. You're not wasting time going in circles.
Fantastic. B, thank you so much for being a guest. This was such a valuable conversation. I hope all of you listening took as much away from this as I did. Do me a favor and share this episode so more people can learn about all of his incredible work. And thank you so much. We'll see you again next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Simplify to Scale. If you'd like to take things further, I invite you to join me for my Scale Smarter, Not Harder interactive workshop. Head to strategicopsinstitute.com/scale smarter to get registered. Not only will we dive into what might be keeping you trapped in the day-to-day, but you'll have the opportunity to ask me your questions live. If you got value out of today's episode, I'd love if you'd take a moment and rate and review the show so more businesses can learn to scale more simply and sustainably. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and I'll see you again next week.